Welcome. My name is Peter Strong and I'm a professional psychotherapist based in Colorado, and I offer online therapy for the treatment of agoraphobia and other anxiety disorders through Skype. So if you're looking for online treatment for agoraphobia, then I invite you to take a look at my website and contact me to learn more about this online therapy service. The approach that I take is called mindfulness therapy, and specifically mindfulness-based exposure therapy, which I have found to be very effective for the treatment of agoraphobia and for overcoming anxiety in general. So this is a system that I've developed over the years and have been teaching online, and people have reported remarkable improvements once they start applying the particular methods that I'll be teaching you during our Skype therapy sessions together. The methods of mindfulness-based therapy for agoraphobia are ones based on developing a conscious relationship with your anxiety. This is what is typically missing. People simply become consumed by their anxiety. You become overwhelmed by the habitual reactive anxiety. And when you become identified with it in this way, then you simply feed the anxiety. So this happens as a habit. It's a conditioned reaction. We simply blindly become attached to the anxiety reaction without any choice, because there's no conscious awareness. So in order to change things, to break free from the anxiety, you have to start developing conscious awareness around the anxiety. So in the mindfulness-based exposure treatment approach, what we do is we design a series of challenges. We call these exposure challenges of increasing difficulty, and then you prepare for each challenge very carefully using the methods of mindfulness therapy. So what this means is that you will imagine doing the challenge before you actually go out and do it in real time. You play it through in the mind. You imagine doing that challenge. And you look very carefully for any anxiety reactions that get triggered. We want to bring those into conscious awareness, because typically they simply operate subconsciously as reactive habits. So we want to bring those habits into consciousness. Then when you have brought that anxiety into your conscious awareness, you then start training with it. And this is the important message here. You must train with those anxiety reactions well before you do the actual exposure challenge. So you train with the anxiety. You look at the anxiety reaction and you begin to cultivate, through training with it, a relationship in which you see the anxiety but don't become identified with it. So we're overcoming this habit of blind reactive identification, which is the real issue. The anxiety reaction itself is not as important as the reactive identification that happens once that anxiety gets triggered. If you react, if you become identified with the anxiety, then you feed it, and you also prevent it from healing, from changing, from resolving itself. You keep it alive when you identify with it. So by training mindfully with it, to see it objectively as an object in the mind in which you remain as the observer, you begin to break that habit of reactive identification. And that's a crucial part of the recovery process for any anxiety disorder. You have to break free from the anxiety. And you do that by learning how to see it as an object. It's not you. You don't become the anxiety. You don't become afraid. You stay as the witness, the observer, seeing that anxiety. So through training, we train ourselves out of this habit of blind reactive identification. You can then take this to a second level to increase the effectiveness of the healing process by changing that relationship from being a fear-based relationship based on reactive identification to being a relationship based on friendliness, compassion, a sense of caring for that anxiety emotion itself, as if it was a child. You're learning to see it as an object that needs your help to heal. So we start to develop compassion towards it. And that compassion is very, very powerful. Once you cultivate inner compassion, you will greatly accelerate the rate of healing for that anxiety. So training with it in this way, through developing objective consciousness and inner compassion, neutralizes that anxiety. It literally creates a pathway whereby that anxiety can heal itself whenever it gets triggered. So by training with it, we're training the anxiety to resolve itself. So you do this before you do the exposure challenge. You play it through in the mind, look for the anxiety, develop a compassionate and conscious relationship with it until it heals, which it will do very quickly, depending on the quality of that relationship that you develop with it. You repeat it until you can imagine doing the challenge, the exposure challenge, without any anxiety at all. Then you do the exposure challenge, and only then. Then the actual live experience will reinforce that pathway that you have just created through your training that heals the anxiety. So that becomes very, very powerful reinforcement for the new pathway that you've established in the brain that heals that anxiety. So after working through that first exposure challenge until you can do it with complete confidence, then you move on to the next challenge on your list of challenges. And you do the same thing. You play it through in the mind in order to find any anxiety reactions that are operating subconsciously. Then you bring those anxiety reactions into conscious awareness. You help heal them through developing inner compassion until they have all healed, and then you do that second challenge. And you do that until you can do the challenge without any anxiety at all. Then you move on to the next challenge, and so on. If you take this systematic approach, you will see changes very, very quickly, often in a few weeks. You have to do this every day. You work through your list of challenges and you train and prepare for each challenge using mindfulness meditation methods. We meditate on the anxiety in order to build that conscious and compassionate relationship in which we can help the anxiety heal instead of just feeding it through reactivity. So if you'd like to learn more about how to work with your agoraphobia using mindfulness therapy, then simply reach out to me and let's schedule a Skype therapy session. You'll see changes very quickly once you learn how to do this, how to apply mindfulness effectively for healing anxiety. So please do contact me if you're at all interested in getting started with mindfulness-based exposure therapy. Thank you.